Welcome to Coffee Chat. My name's Dave Bennet. I'm your host for the program today. My guests today are Rick Sparling. Rick's from Winnipeg now. He grew up here in Neepawa, and he was in the management and sales of furniture and appliances area. Mary Ellen Clark is my other guest. She's from Neepawa, been here all her life, and she's worked in the banking industry here in Neepawa, and once that was finished, she's been very involved in volunteer in the palliative care area and other areas around here. Welcome to both of you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
And nice to have you here. I'm looking forward to this. Neepawa hockey history. You've both been involved in that. And I go back a long way in that too. Not so much recently, but way back. So that's great. Now, Rick, maybe we'll start with you. You retired from your career, your working career, and you've done just a fantastic job with your volunteer work in publishing and writing of books. I know you've published 5 books, with the newest one that's coming out now. In particular, the 2 that we want to talk about, first of all, are the 2 hockey books that you started with. The history of public school hockey in Neepawa was this one here. And then he did a massive one. I don't know how many pages in this one, Rick. This is a massive size.
Yeah, too big.
Too big. Yes, 732 pages in this one here. This one's Amateur Hockey in Neepawa, a scrapbook. And this one was about the public school hockey that was in Neepawa. I don't know if public school hockey was in all towns and areas or not, but it certainly was in Neepawa.
I think this is Neepawa was the only place that I've ever heard of.
Really, where it actually took place. Yeah. Okay, so what then, Rick, got you into all of this? I mean, you finished your working career, and I mean, this is into publishing and research. Did you have any background in it? What got you into it?
Actually, my mom got me started with doing the family history, and
okay.
So I did a lot of research. I spent 4 years putting a family tree and a history together, and I really liked doing the research on it. And then I was a community correspondent for my area in Winnipeg for 4 years, and in 2012 I retired. My wife developed brain cancer, and as a kind of a distraction, I started into this hockey book in 2013, and I spent 2 years on it, and I spent many hours, and it really helped me get through the grieving period.
Right.
And I really enjoyed doing it. The nice thing about that book was that I was able to come out to Neepawa and find all of the trophies, and on the trophies were the plaques, and so all the years right through were covered. And then I went down to the archives in Winnipeg and took the Neepawa Press out, and I'd go through to March, scroll through to March every year and get the write-up of the actual who won and who was on the team and everything. Okay. So it's all chronological, and
so but this is public school history, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the Neepawa public school, right? So
right.
Those trophies are actually still here in Neepawa?
I took them into Winnipeg, took them back home, and I cleaned them all up and photographed them for the book and took them back to the museum. They were, some of those trophies were picked up by Cecil Pittman at the garbage dump. And they're in a box in the museum way over in the corner, and when I found it, I was like so happy about that.
Well, I bet you were. So how many trophies did they have for
they had the Jack
public
White
school?
The Jack White trophy was the junior, which was grade 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then it was called the Firewall Coal Company.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like I just forget the name of it. There it is there.
Check through here, right.
But anyway, that was for grades 7 and 8. So there was 3, 4, 5, 6 junior and 7 and 8 senior.
So did you play hockey in all those years?
Yeah.
I did too, I recall. So.
The only picture I don't have is my first team. And Lawrence Keys was the captain. And I have the write-up and who all was on the team, but I don't have the picture.
So the write-up and all that was in the Neepawa Press.
Right.
Is where you researched
every March. Yeah.
Okay, and the names, of course, were there, so you didn't have any difficulty with names.
No, and I checked them against the plaque, and everything coincided.
Right. So were the names on the plaque? Like the names of the whole team?
No, no, the captain's name and the
name,
team, like the Leafs or the Red Wings or whatever, and then you just go to the paper.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got some wonderful pictures in here too. So, I mean, these were pictures that, where did these pictures? This one says courtesy of John Thompson and courtesy of Ron Clevin. So
yeah, everybody that I talked to, I asked if you got pictures, and in one case, Lank Giles, or we call him Lank, but he said, "Oh no, we were too poor to play hockey. We didn't have skates and that." And then he phoned me about 2 weeks later and said, "Guess what? I found 5 pictures here." So he even had a picture of him standing in his yard with the uniform on.
Yeah. Well, I know some of the pictures where there were team pictures taken after the hockey season was over.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe they're in a yard or something like that. You say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, it's a wonderful. I mean, in this book here is how many pages to it? It's 300 pages in this book, Ramsey. And this was his first one that he did. Okay, now I've just flipped open the back page here of this book, and it says about the author, and I'd like to just read this. And Rick wrote this himself. He said, "I suppose if one considered an author as an originator or producer of something, then it might qualify. In this case, with the production, The History of Public School Hockey in Neepawa, I feel like I'm more of a scanner, organizer, communicator, photocopier, compiler, and researcher." And the second paragraph says, "Through telephone reversal, the 411 option, I found many of those who played in the Neepawa school system, and even when some of these players had no photos or memories, they might have given me a lead so that I could contact more people. There were over 150 people who either provided photos, memories, or leads for this book."
They're all on the back page here.
And the name of them are on the back page here, of the people that he contacted and so on. So, I mean, this is a wonderful production. One other thing in here I noticed, and you can comment on this, was nicknames. This is on page 146. I noticed there was nicknames. Well, I mean, people might recognize the Greek, I mean, is the famous hockey nickname in Neepawa, that's for sure, and he's listed here. What was your nickname?
Sparks.
Sparks. And your brother?
He was Sparky.
Was Sparky. They couldn't have the same nickname, I guess.
Exactly.
No, as such, but in fact, my brother and I did have the same nickname, and it was just twin, and that's because they couldn't tell us apart, so they just used that as the term, I guess. So, but there's lots of them here. Crash McDougall.
Yeah.
So that's, there's probably people that don't know what Crash's real name is.
Probably.
Yeah, that's right. So can you think of any of these other ones here that were sort of important, or ones that were neat nicknames or whatever, right?
Well, Jake Crabb and his brother Darwin was called the Duke.
The Duke?
Yeah.
Okay, and then
so
Skinny.
now we got the Duke and the General.
Oh, the Duke and the General, that's right. And then there was Skinny. He was he was kind of my age too.
That was Ken. Yeah.
That was Kenny. That's right. Yeah. So that's really neat. Carrots Thomason. Now that's one I didn't know. Gary Thomason left here, probably in grade 8 or something like that. I think he was a redhead.
Bright redhead. Yeah.
Yeah. Quite the name there. So that's really neat. So okay, you mentioned history or research in Winnipeg. So you did some research in the archives and that. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, what I would do is park my car at a shopping center and take the bus down to the archives and ask them for certain reels and that, and then it's all on microfiche.
Oh yeah.
So I would scroll through until I found what I was looking for, and did that on the other book as well.
So what categories were you looking for? Like as far as, this is the archives. Was it like Winnipeg Free Press, Winnipeg Tribune archives, or
no, Neepawa Press Archives?
Oh, Neepawa Press Archives in there. Oh,
yeah.
I see.
Yeah,
Rather
they have a
than
huge
here.
assortment. They even have, going back to the original paper, I forget what it was called, but before the press.
Before the press.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's free information for anybody. Do you have to be a member of anything?
You just have to learn how to operate the machines.
Operate the machines and find out the information on there. Yeah. Well, you certainly spent a lot of time. So how much? Well, like you said, the first 2 years, you probably did not much else.
No, that's a 2-year. Actually, all my books are 2-year projects, except the memories one, and that was, like I said, that was done mostly by Kira.
Right. Yes. Yes. So really, as far as other people helping you, I mean, they were just the hockey boys and so on that you connected with, or maybe parents.
On the first book, actually on on a lot of my articles about Neepawa, Cam Smith helped me out quite a bit because he's a walking book of knowledge about Neepawa people and places and families and that.
Okay.
Where I like he knows where everybody lived and which house, what their brothers and sisters and uncles' names.
You know, there's people like that. They don't need to research by the archives or whatever. They've got it all up here. They just planted it in their memory. I don't know how people do that because I can't do that at all.
Well, no, I had a lot of help, and I had help with from a lot of people along the way. Obviously, everybody that contributed pictures and that helped a lot. And
well, the second one is amateur hockey in Neepawa. This was your second endeavor that you went for because the public school one was so popular. People really thought it was great, and so you got going on this one here. Now this was minor hockey. Like, it's a long time.
And what I was trying to do there was to get like I have a team photo, and it's chronological again, so it started it right early, and then as we went along, I think your team, your 57, 58 BB team is in.
Yeah, well, that's right. I'm just looking at the picture here. I marked it. Now, there's a picture that's in here that I had never seen before. It came to light. I think it maybe came from Keith Windus, perhaps.
Yeah.
If I recall. And I'd never seen it. It's a picture of our team on the ice after we won the championship, and our parents are in the background.
Yeah.
As such, yeah, it really impressed me to find that or to see it. And then there's a picture of Jake here on the other page with the jackets that we got.
Yeah.
Mine's long gone, and everybody else's is too. I'm sure, as such. And of course, there's write-ups about it and so on. So, yeah, that's really great.
So on what I tried to do there was to put the picture of the team in, and then all the playoff games leading up to the final.
Okay.
And so that's done in most cases.
Yeah. So they didn't necessarily have to win the provincial championship.
No.
To be in the book, of course, right?
No, actually, there's tons of girls' teams in there too.
As well, girls' teams.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In both books, actually.
In both books.
Yeah. My sister, Cheryl, who just passed away a couple of months ago.
Oh, but, sorry, I didn't know that.
She said, I said, you played hockey? And she says, no, I was a figure skater. And I said, no, you played hockey. And she said, I don't know, I was a figure skater. So I took the book out and flipped to the page, and I said, what are you wearing that sweater and carrying a hockey stick for? So anyway.
Well, the girls hockey, of course, is very popular now, and organized teams and that sort of thing, but it did start. Yeah. The girls were wanting to play hockey way back then too.
Yeah, for sure.
That's for sure. That's right. Yeah, and you have, I think, that some of your granddaughters are playing hockey.
Exactly. Yes, my son was very involved in getting girls hockey established in Neepawa, actually, and in the area. Yes.
So, and your two granddaughters
played hockey.
Yes, and extensively too. Like
they did. Yes, Aaliyah played with the Chiefs out of Shoal Lake. Yes, she did.
And that hockey's going on right now. I mean, there's kids that have graduated, girls, that have graduated and gone to college.
Oh, yes. And actually, every year, between Christmas and New Year's, David still has an alumni game for the girls' team and all his alumni. And last Christmas, he had 18 girls back.
Oh, wow.
To play. And they range from 30 years old and down.
Oh, wow.
But David bought a set of jerseys, breast cancer jerseys, that he has at home that his alumni wear when they play between Christmas and New Year's. So that continues every year.
Oh, well, neato. Didn't know about that, and maybe that's a story we can do sometime when they're back here. We might be able to do a story on TV or something or other.
They look forward to that.
Yeah, with this. That's a great idea.
They do. Yeah.
There's so much history in the town that we can deal with, and so appreciate you, Rick, and Mary Ellen too, for doing things that preserve the history in town. And that maybe leads me into this particular third book that you did, Rick, which is called Neepawa Memories and More. And this is a compilation of articles that you did for the Neepawa Banner. Is that correct?
Over the years, yeah.
Yeah. So how many years does that span, do you know? And can you tell me a little bit about that book?
I'm not sure how many years that would be, but probably about 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
This book, what happened was that I was doing this. I was going to give the profits to NACTV and to the Roxy Theatre, and I just needed to compile everything I had, and so that's where Kira Patterson came in and helped.
Oh, okay, curated, yes.
And then when we tried to put it from a full-size newspaper to an 8.5 by 11, it wasn't working, so we had to put a lot more production into it. And basically it turned out that I was going to try to sell the book for $30 and give $10, but as it turned out, it wasn't worth $30, so I put $20 on it and gave it to the places, so they made $500 each on it. And at my
you donated everything, your time as well as some money, I'm sure. If you add up the cost of you working on these projects, this has been a major donation.
When I said that I wasn't in this to make money, I wasn't to lose it either. Stuff happens. I take advantage of NAC TV. I watch a lot of it, and I obviously have been to the Roxy a few times in my life, so it's worth it.
Well, we certainly appreciated the dollars that came to there. I mean, and this is just about everything in this book. I mean, and just flip it open, and this is Neepawa Film Festival, thoughts about the festival. You know, you can flip back here, there's one of Ken's articles is here, and Kate has an article in here as well. Helen's Kitchen, some of the stuff out of the Bennet.
The book
History of Central School, for example.
Yeah, there's actually 3 themes that I used mainly, and Central School was one, and Where Are They Now was the hockey players out of the other book, and just what they're doing now, and cheerleaders, what they're doing now, where they are.
Right.
The other one was I wrote an article for the offshoot of the Free Press, and it was Humor Defies Aging. And so
yes,
that's part of that in there too.
Is there too? Yes, yeah. Well, no, it certainly just covers everything about Neepawa. Now, you mentioned the hockey boys where they are. I have that page marked here, and this is the 1948-49 winners of the Clint Bennet Trophy, which was the Bantam area, or the category for that year. And I mean, there's Bob Allen, Barry Hunter, Walter Cockeye, Ian Stewart, Byron Hamilton, Billy Gwynn, Ed Crabb. I mean, it's a great one, and in fact, ours is on the next page as well. So I noticed it. That's that's wonderful. And you found out where they are now.
Yeah.
So who did that for you? Did you?
I did that.
You did that as well. Like, you were able to contact those players.
All these books too, I'm not a typist, but I did type all these books, and I'm what they call a hunt and peck.
Oh yeah, I call it the Columbus method: seek and find.
Yeah. So
that's time consuming if you're not a typist. That's for sure. Yeah. And so, okay, working with the publisher then. How did that work? You mean you had to learn how to work with a publisher and so on? Tell us a bit about that, because there's people that want to publish their own stuff maybe.
Yeah, the guy, Ryan Schellenberg from McNally Robinson, he helped me considerably on the amateur hockey one and the first one, and the Neepawa business one. But he was a big help, and then he left the company and they stopped doing self-publications. So that's when I went to, I go to a place now in North Kildonan called the Little Laminator, and his name is Tim Fulcher. He does a really good job. So
that's a small publishing company, I guess.
Yeah.
Is it? So they take on projects of individuals and that want to publish their own books and so on.
Yeah, he did the Memories one for me, and he did this one here.
Right, yeah. Well, just before we move on to the last topic, I do want to mention the history of Neepawa businesses. Now, this one is so large that if you got to be careful whether it actually falls apart in there. And this is what Rick did. And I can imagine even thinking about tackling a project like this. And you wanted to take, I believe, a location and track it through the years. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So tell me, how hard was that?
Well, the thing is with this book, Norma Forsman, and Ron, of course, had a great collection of photographs and stories. Ron Forsman.
Oh, Ron, sorry, Norma and Ron, yes.
Yeah, and Cecil Pittman also had a lot of stuff, and there's stuff in the looking back columns, and but just a lot of research in that book, and I couldn't, if I didn't have Norma and Cecil's information there, I'd still be writing it.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
no, it's massive, and thank you to both those people. Well, they're credited on the front of the book
Yeah.
as such. But this spent a lot. You spent a lot of time in the Manitoba archives on this one.
I did.
Didn't you?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
trying to sort that out. And I know phone calls. You'd phone us and email us, and you
Yeah.
know about the building that Myra was in and so on.
Right.
And, tried to get you information and so on. Of course, there was the history books the 2 history books that
Yeah,
were on.
that helped a lot. There's
yeah,
3 of them that I had there.
That would help on that. So that's a massive thing. Okay, are any of these books available for purchase now, or are they all sold out?
They're all sold out. Well, McNally Robinson switched the pricing from cost to retail. So if somebody wanted to buy one, it would be at like way up.
Way
that.
up.
So
But they are still available?
No, we
No.
just took them off the shelf
Okay.
and did away with them. They're all sold out. The only one that is purchasable right now would be
This
the,
one.
the newest
The
one.
newest
as
one,
such.
yeah.
We'll move to that. So I guess if people have some of these books, these first 4 books out there, and you're cleaning out a parent's house or something like that, and you come across these books and you're wondering what to do about it and so on, that they would be great. I mean, you could bring them to the TV station and we would certainly, somebody else might get some enjoyment out of them or buy them or something like that. There are some in the Neepawa library,
Yeah,
are there?
yeah. There's
Any-
one copy of each in the library.
In the library. And anywhere else in town?
No, just in the main library.
In the main library.
In Winnipeg.
In the-
and
in the main
Neepawa.
library in Winnipeg,
Yeah.
and in the Nepal library, so people
Right.
can go and look for them in those places or whatever. Okay, well now we want to move towards the newest book, and that's particularly why Mary Ellen's here. She was involved in the assistance with this, and this one is a history of the Neepawa Natives junior hockey team from 1989 to 2020. And Mary Ellen has been on the board of the Neepawa Natives and continuing with the Titans from 2016 as the billets chair of that. So tell me, first of all, Mary Ellen, what is involved with the billeting process in Neepawa? Explain to the audience how we billet and what you do.
Billeting has turned out to be a very important part of our hockey club. Years ago, they were just lucky to find anyone who would billet kids. And there was no real checking out family homes or anything. It was
Okay.
kids were just wherever. When I took over as coordinator, we discovered that it was important. They were bringing great kids, and it was important to us how they played on the ice, and therefore we wanted them to be in a good family home. Particularly, it was nice if we had young couples that would take a hockey player in, because he was like a big brother.
Oh,
So
okay.
I always made sure that the homes were checked to make sure that it was a suitable home, and that they were treated like your own child. Made a difference if they had a pet. They had a pet. Some kids had allergies, so we had to check that out. We developed a list of player expectations, billet expectations of what, as a billet mom or dad, was expected from you, and we just started to move forward that way. We try to put 2 hockey players together, an older one and a younger one, if it's possible, because the young will learn from an older player what goes on in a parent household.
So you were establishing a family atmosphere. That
Ex-
would be a key word, to, I think, to
Yes,
wrap
if we
that
could
up.
do that, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's right. So now that probably helped going forward with this book, because I know that you were doing some work and helping Rick. It was Rick's idea for the book, is that correct? Or?
Absolutely, yes, his idea, totally.
Okay, and then he contacted you for some assistance in finding these
Yes.
boys and so on. So
Yes,
tell me a bit
because
about that.
because I had billeted for 17 years and knew a lot of these kids.
Right.
Therefore, I had a lot of emails and had their phone numbers. So when Rick was not having much luck with some of them, I was able to contact these young lads and say, when you get this email from Rick, please answer it and send your information, because he's printing a book that you need to be in. And then when they didn't respond, then I would call them and say, time's running out. You need to answer these emails or his text, please. So we did get a lot of extra response that way.
That way.
And also then the work that Rick did getting these emails and numbers, we were able to put that in our alumni book. We have a scrapbook
Oh.
with every team picture and all the young lads that played here. So we're creating this alumni book with email addresses so we can keep them in the loop
track.
about information with the hockey club, donation dollars if necessary, if they'd like to donate back to the club, and just to let them know that they're part of this alumni book that's created. So all the emails that Rick would get that I didn't have, then I put in the book.
Okay, so it was
It's
a
been
cooperative effort both ways.
It was wonderful.
Well, she helped me out a lot on sending me all kinds of names and numbers and that. And then whenever I got to talk to them, I'd get their email address and send it to her. So
Yeah. So you worked well together. You
We
two.
did, and it
Yeah.
was an extra thing for particularly for our alumni because we didn't have that information.
Yeah. You'd have some parents, perhaps, I would have to go through some parent names and that to find out where the boy was now or whatever, I suppose.
Somewhat, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Because a lot of the parents, I had their phone numbers.
And they still come to the rink. I mean, there's
yes.
players from a number of years ago that the parents still come here and support, do they not?
Yes, oh, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, that was very evident just recently when we had the tournament on Friday.
Oh,
Like parents
okay.
of the Titans now were certainly back. We have a lot of huge parent support and parent support over the years.
So that was the recent tournament there. So how many, maybe you know this, Rick, how many hockey boys are there that played for the Natives? And how many were we able to contact, do you think?
Well, I think it says 600. It's probably closer to 700 if you look at the Natives all-time list,
Okay.
which is available on Google. And I know I spoke to 250, so
Oh, wow.
not sure what percentage that is, maybe a third or somewhere around there. But
Well,
it's the most frustrating part of doing the book was not being able to get a hold of people.
Yeah, I'm sure it's and as young people, history isn't as important to young people as once we get older, history becomes more important to us. It's the way it is.
I noticed in this book, like if the very first year, it was easy to get a hold of people because everybody had a landline. But now they're on Instagram and Snapchat and cell phones, and you can't really. They're all unlisted. So it's the further you go in the book, the less people I got to talk to.
Really, I would have thought it might be the other way in a sense.
I only missed
Yeah.
2 people out of the first year. So
the first year, you have more of the people.
I got everybody but 2.
Everybody but 2.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's great. Okay, so the book was launched, I guess, at the Titans golf tournament. And where are copies of this available and so on?
I think the hockey team has them, so through the rink, through Ken Pearson, I believe.
We did sell some at the tournament on Friday.
Okay, and what do they sell for, Mary Ellen?
$40.
For $40. Okay.
And it's worth it. $40.
Oh, yeah.
The information here is invaluable. It's just wonderful.
So what is the format in the book? I mean, I've seen the other 4 because I own those, but this one is just new out. What's the format in the book?
Again, it's chronological, so starting at the first year, and each team picture is a paragraph or a chapter.
Okay.
So there's like 31 chapters or something like that, and I tried to get as many players from each year as possible. There's also a lot of coverage with the billeting and the great job that the billeting people and coordinator have done over the years, and the booster club is in there. There's a little bit about the hazing incident, which is is part of the history, so I didn't want to leave everything out.
Leave that out, right? Yes.
And yeah, basically it just brings us up to I tried to get a few pictures of the uniforms and a little bit about the new team, although the book is only supposed to cover up to 20.
That's kind of looking forward,
Yeah.
or the next chapter, the next book or whatever that could possibly happen there. So.
Right.
The billets are all named in here too. There's a page in here of all the people who have billeted over the years as well. And it's very interesting in some of the comments from the young players when they thank their billets.
In their little write-ups.
In their little write-ups.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, it's comment on the beautiful billet homes that they had and the
Right.
great people they met in our community.
I'm sure.
It's very heartwarming when I read that.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. So did the player themselves make the write the write-up of themselves, or did they just send you some information in some cases?
I have a form that I wanted to find out where they started playing hockey in Pee Wee and
Okay.
Adam and all that, what the name of their team was, and then from there, when they went to AAA, or were they drafted by Neepawa, or did they get traded by somebody?
Right.
How long they played for Neepawa, and then where they went after Neepawa, who their billets were, of course, and
Right.
where they worked part-time, if they did, or did they go to school here. Some of them graduated here, some of them worked in various places.
Yes,
and,
yes.
And then did they get married? And the funny part was that sometimes I forget who I'm dealing with, and I was talking to somebody, I said, at the end of it, I said, "You're married?" And he says, "Married." He says, "I'm still going to school." So.
Well, I can't imagine how you keep track of all this stuff. I mean, I've got a background in keeping track of stuff and doing projects like this and so on, and I don't think I could have coped with this when I was 40 years old, let alone how you are right now. Not implying that you're ancient at all, Rick, but I know you're not a pup, that's for sure. You must have a large house with a large basement to keep track of all this, do you?
I got I keep all my notes and everything, and there's boxes. Yeah, trust me, there's lots of boxes, and but I have all the interviews that I did with the guys. I write them out and then I type them out and then I send it to them and to see if there's any corrections needed, and then they send it back corrected.
So you did the write-up with them supplying the information,
Yeah.
and quoting them with their thanks
Yeah.
and that sort of thing.
There's a couple in there that just wrote their own, and I just put it in there, but most of it was done by the questionnaire.
Yeah. And I would think those that did it were happy they did it afterwards. I mean, I'm sure they would be. After you do a project like that, sometimes it's a little tough to get going. I know the one I wrote for our hockey team back in one of the other books, you know, I put it off, and then one day I got at it. Well, I couldn't stop once I got at it, you know. I want to put this into that in. You really felt good about it.
There was only 2 people that didn't want to participate in it out of all the ones I phoned.
That told you they didn't want to.
Yeah, and I respected that.
Of course. That's great.
They're
That's
not
great.
in the book.
And there were,
They'll be
of
sorry.
course, there were a lot of boys that were only here for a very short time. You know, they came and they were, well, I mean, I taught some of them at school, so I know there were some that came and they were in my class for a week or two, and then they were gone somewhere else. It didn't work out, and another team got them and so on. So, I mean, they're part of the history there in terms of the names and so on. But they might not be on the team picture because they left early, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. There's lots of them like that. Like I'd say hundreds.
Yeah, there'd be hundreds, I suppose.
Yeah.
You would know about that too.
Yes,
They were-
absolutely.
Yeah, well,
And
with the
that's-
billeting, was there much of changing homes?
Yes, there was, Dave. There was a lot of that. And the hard part is when you put young people into someone's home, there's tears when those kids leave.
Oh, yes.
And you have to make sure that we tell them it's part of junior hockey and they will be traded and moved around. You know, and that happens. It's harder if you've got young children in your family because they get attached instantly.
Oh, yes.
So some families, it's like, oh, we've just fell in love with this kid, and you do. Like instantly, if these kids warm your heart, once they come across that threshold, they're yours. And it's hard.
But once you get a couple of good kids, then you're keen to bill it for, we might, you know, let's
For
do this
sure,
again.
absolutely,
Let's do this again, right?
absolutely. It's a great thing for the community. And these young lads, they will, to this day, they will tell you the best experience they had in junior hockey was here. Because of the community.
Right.
The community followed them, the community welcomed them, and they found it so friendly. And a lot of these young lads that are past the junior hockey now, they played in other communities. And Neepawa still is in their heart.
Yeah.
So we've done something right.
Well, hopefully their billet, you know, some of them are growing up and have their own kids, and they're billeting the new hockey generation.
Oh, that does happen,
perhaps.
Dave. That
Yeah.
certainly does happen. Especially we found if some new people come into our community that were billeted themselves and are here, they will step up and offer to billet.
offer.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And we're lucky that our business people will hire these young people because of their schedule. It can vary,
Oh, yes.
you know, but they work around the kids. So we really appreciate what the community does to provide some employment and
Yeah.
spending money for these young
Yeah.
people too.
And some of them are still of school age, of course,
Yes.
and the schools have been
That's-
very good.
yes,
They were
very
when I
good.
was there, of accepting
Yes.
the kids into class and so on. And you know, I mean, they're only there for part of the year, so you've got to collaborate with their other school. I know there was a boy that I had at one time that he really wanted to graduate in his home school, but he was here. He'd taken he had a lot of courses from Neepawa. He was here for 2 or 3 years. He probably did more high school in our collegiate than he did in his home collegiate. But I remember calling his principal and talking about he wanted to graduate at home.
Yeah.
So we transferred the courses to there and made it happen.
And one thing with the billeting too that we do, Dave, if you've had a young lad this year, when he returns next year, he goes back to that same billet home,
Okay.
as long as the young lad is happy and the billet family are happy.
Mhm.
So we do have the continuity that way, so that they become part of your family. They don't have to get shifted to some other
Right,
family.
so, yeah.
So that has really worked well.
That's a big part of the hockey program. It definitely
is, yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah, it
it's
is.
mentioned in the book and so on. So, well, Rick, what's next on your agenda? Are you thinking down the line at all?
I'm kind of thinking about it. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I was interested in my other hobby is billiards, and I was going to do a book on snooker in Manitoba. And there's two people from Manitoba, Winnipeg, I guess, that went in and won the world championship in snooker. So there's lots of old buildings and lots of old pool rooms and seedy places. And
So, where is the world championship of?
it's in
Billiards?
England.
In England.
Yeah.
And two Manitobans
Yeah.
have. And are you one of them?
No. No.
But
far
you
from
have
it.
gone to some championships, have you, or to some tournaments, have you not?
Yeah, in billiard tournaments and that. Yeah,
Out, like-
English billiards, and we had the world champions and that all come in here a couple of years ago, and I took part in that. I had to play one guy. I think I might have got 2 shots in the whole game.
So this was in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Now English billiards, that's the one where you have 2 white balls and 1 red ball.
Yeah, it's white, yellow, and red now.
White, yellow, and red. Oh, I did. Oh, okay.
But yeah, I enjoy it.
Oh wow, that's good.
I was going to say that there's also 3 billeters that submitted articles: Darlene Davies, Gwen Jacobson, and Monica Potker.
Okay.
And it's funny because I always get a kick out of this one. The kid, she says, "Okay, it's time to do the laundry now." And the kid says, "My last billet did the laundry for me." And she says, "Well, I'm going to teach you how to do it." And so she'd taken down and you put the soap in here, you put all the whites in, and then you hit the button. That's all there is to it. And by the time you leave here, you'll know how to do your own washing.
And I'll bet he appreciates that.
Yeah.
Now, is that?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, I want to thank you both for coming in today and talking about history of hockey in Neepawa and a couple of other topics that we got onto. Congratulations and thanks for all the work you do, putting Neepawa on the map, both of you, for what you do for our town and putting us on the map. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Great.
And if you'd like to join in again, we'll be running coffee chat programs continuously with other hosts and other guests. So please join us again in the future.